Well, we got a big one on CBS this Saturday at 3:30 Eastern in the Big Ten. Trojans heading to go see the Boilermakers in Purdue. This will be USC's first trip to West Lafayette since 1976 and second visit overall. Obviously, different teams, different coaches at the helm. Both squads coming in 2-0 to start the season, but somebody is going to lose that O between these two in this matchup. Purdue was one of the worst teams in the nation last season, going 1-11 and winless in conference play. USC just trying to be a lot better than what we saw a season ago, but there's a little history between these two. Back to 1966 and then 75, 76, and look at 1998. Some young gunslingers back in the day at Carson Palmer and Drew Brees going toe-to-toe, but of course, it was Palmer getting the W 27-17. All right, joining us from 24/7 Sports, my guy Ryan Abraham here. He will be there Saturday in there in West Lafayette for this game and this matchup. And Ryan, one thing for sure when we talk about this Trojans offense through 2 weeks, 132 points. It's the most since 2005 when it comes to program. I know it's Missouri State and Georgia Southern, but what have you noticed from this group?
I think when you look at the quarterback, Maiava, who was really putting the ball in harm's way, started the last 4 games for USC, had some spectacular plays, but also some not so great plays. And I think he maybe had one turnover-worthy play through the first 2 games, didn't turn the ball over for the first time in back-to-back games in his career. So I think he seems to have turned a corner working with Lincoln Riley throughout the offseason. His mechanics look a little better, and he just seems to have a little bit more control of the offense. And I think now having Makai Lemon and Jacoby Lane, you have 2 alpha receivers that you can kind of work the offense through, where last year they sort of had 5 different guys. You weren't sure who was going to be the number 1 in any given day. And I think they really loved their running back room. Wayman Jordan came in, had 167 yards against Clay Helton's Georgia Southern team on Saturday. And I think they just like the way the offense is clicking, but it's all starting, up front with Maiava and what he's able to do. I think he's just been much more of a leader for this USC offense than we saw when he was sort of thrust into that starting role at the end of last season.
It's always about the quarterbacks when it comes to Lincoln Riley, and of course the past couple of seasons that we've seen at USC. You can go back to Miller Moss, Caleb Williams, obviously, and we just saw the numbers there. But when it comes to Maiava, how does he compare to what we've seen other guys under Riley?
Yeah, I think that, there's the athleticism there, but we haven't seen him take off and run all that much. I'm curious if when you get into Big Ten play, if they're going to ask him to use his legs a little bit more. But I thought he used his escapability pretty well. I think one of the issues was, and we saw it when Caleb Williams would be back there making magic, sometimes you end up doing that and putting the ball in harm's way. And I think there was a maturity moment in the Georgia Southern game. It was a 3rd down and they were in scoring territory, but they actually, he rolled out and it looked like he could have tried to force the ball in somewhere and it just ended up throwing it away, and USC kicks their only field goal of the game. I think that was in the 2nd quarter. I think last year he would have took a shot, and sometimes that, could work out well, and other times you're turning the ball over when you don't want to be. So I think just him being a little bit more mature, I think has helped. And you want to have those kind of magic plays where it's just off script and great things happen, but you can't have it at the expense of bad things are happening about half the time. So I feel like that's one of the things where he's just become a little bit more mature. And I'm curious to see if we see a little bit more of that athleticism and Big Ten play where he can take off and run and pick up first downs with his legs. It doesn't seem like they're going to do a lot of zone read stuff where he's just keeping it all the time. But I think they can use his legs a little bit more than what they have.
You just saw just over 700 yards in those first 2 games, 6 touchdowns, no interceptions. Any coach would take that in terms of yards per attempt. Just under 17. That is the best in FBS. But biggest concern, he's going on the road, and we all know when you're going on the road, especially in the Big Ten, it's different. What's your biggest concern there against Purdue for this group?
Yeah, I know Purdue was the worst team in the Big Ten last year, but Barry Odom's done a really nice job. They've already doubled their win total from last year, and USC struggled on the road. Maryland's only conference win last season was USC, when they hosted USC last year. So I think just trying to win a game outside of the Western time zone has been a problem for USC. So I think it's a good ramp up where you get 2 teams that are, lower division, and now you can go into Big Ten play and play one of the worst teams from last year, at least in the Big Ten, that's got a big roster turnover. You get them early in the season and just get that road win under your belt. We just haven't seen this team get on a plane, travel multiple time zones, and win a game in the conference yet. So I think this is a good opportunity to get out there, they've changed. Lincoln Riley said this week they've changed some of their techniques or whatever for going on the road, and we'll see how if that matters at all. But they just need to get on the road, get a win, come back home, and then kind of work your way into Big Ten play. That was the biggest problem last year, just not being able to play well and finish games on the road.
All right, going on the road, West Lafayette, you'll be there. The Trojans will be there about 6:30, 7 p.m. Eastern time. Who wins this in your eyes?
Yeah, I think USC is going to be like a 3-touchdown favorite in this one. It's gone down every week. They were a 5-touchdown favorite to start, then 4, now 3. I don't know if USC is going to cover the spread in this one, but I think they're going to be able to secure the win here. I think they just look like it's the eyes are dotted, the T's are crossed, and USC has done the right things in the offseason to sort of get over the hump of, hey, we're in all these games, you're winning all these games in the fourth quarter, only to end up losing them. I think this is one of those situations where they can get the lead, they can actually stretch the lead a little bit, and kind of comfortably cruise into the final whistle on this one. So I think USC wins, but probably like a 14-point game, something like that.
So it's you say cruise into this one, because let's go beyond this game because it gets a little spicy, and I'm just looking at the schedule here. You got Illinois, who's 9 in the land, Michigan after that, Notre Dame at the end of the year. You get Oregon, and then of course the matchup with UCLA. Big picture here, realistically, as we bring up the schedule here, where do we see this Trojan team? Or do we see them maybe in the top of the conference, maybe in the postseason? I mean, realistically, where do you see them, Ryan?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunities here. I kind of felt like it was going to be an 8-4 type of season, and they've won convincingly the first 2 games, winning by a combined 99 points. But it's not going to matter until you get into Big Ten play. I think that Illinois game, you have a really good chance of being 4-0, going on the road and trying to beat a ranked team in conference. And Illinois blew out Duke, but there was a lot of mistakes by Duke in that one. And I think, it's some fortunate things that were happening for the Illini. So I think it's certainly a winnable game. And, Notre Dame's already lost. There were just some tough ones there. It doesn't look like any of these games are going to be just insurmountable, maybe outside of the road game against Oregon, who looks really good right now. So they have a lot of opportunities, but they haven't shown that they can consistently win on the road, and they haven't finished games, especially on the road, last season. I mean, the first 5 games, to have leads in the fourth quarter and lose them all last season, like that's just not going to get it done. So I think there's a really good opportunity here. I still see this team kind of stumbling once or twice, but I feel like 8-4, 9-3 is sort of where that they're going to end up. But there's upside there. I mean, if they go and they beat Illinois and start out 5-0, I think all bets are out. At that point, I mean, you can make a run at trying to get in that conference title game. But just from last year, 6-6, we saw them struggle on the road. I don't know if they can make that big of a leap where you're going to win all these big road games, but I think they can win a couple, and that would be a big improvement.
8-4, 9-3, I'll give you that. But if we're looking at Lincoln Riley here, and we're talking about USC, this is one of the upper echelon programs in the country. How many more 8-4 and 9-3 does he have under his belt to really compete, not just in the Big Ten, but also getting in that CFP conversation?
Yeah, if you're 9-3, they would at least be talked about, depending how you lose those games. But you're right. I mean, going 13-11 your last 2 regular seasons at USC is not going to get it done. And everyone knows it got this massive contract that is really going to be hard for USC to get out of. I don't see him being in trouble if they go 8-4, 9-3. I think 8-4 is kind of like a par for after going 6-6 last season. If it was like a 7-5 or 6-6 again, after everything that the investment that the administration put into this team in the offseason, I think there could be a lot of discussion, even though there's this massive Jimbo Fisher kind of buyout sitting there waiting. It's just not going to be good enough. But this team seems really confident, and I feel like going into this, they know they can go out and win a bunch of games. And maybe they're going to look at people saying, hey, 8-4 is where they're going to be, and go out and go 10-2. We'll see. But I think there is a lot of pressure on Lincoln Riley, especially with the kind of investment that they made in this offseason. New strength coach, and just to step up and keep Danton Lynn, who Penn State really wanted in the offseason. They poured a lot into this, and now the only thing left is to win games on Saturday. So you're here, you won the first 2 against lesser competition. Now you got to go out and win some of these games, especially ones where you might go in as an underdog, especially on the road. Just go out and win those games, and I think everything else will take care of itself.
They are 16-1 to win the Big Ten, so we shall see. We saw that gauntlet there late September into October. Ryan, Abraham, appreciate your time breaking it down. That game Saturday at 3:30 Eastern Time on the road in West Lafayette against Purdue. As I mentioned, a lot of history. First meeting since 1998 between the two, but kickoff at 3:30. You can catch it on CBS and also streaming on Paramount Plus.